First and foremost, I do want to thank those customers of ours who aren't from the area who agreed to help us today and come share their opinions. Strange to thank them beforehand, but we've known each other for a while. I also want to specifically thank James Weiser from Skelk, who agreed to moderate today, and I'm going to turn everything over to him now.
Thank you, Brett. I think I know most of you. I'm James. I am the moderator. The point of these summits is to be collaborative and to engender a spirit of dialogue among all the participants. Our first speaker is Tim Strawn. He is the Director of Information Resources and Archives at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and he's going to speak to us today on the topic of transforming collections in a network world.
Around 2002, 2003, when Google really came on the scene, there was this librarian freakout. Users can go get stuff on their own, and they're not asking for us to mediate anything. They can look stuff up on their own without using our carefully crafted subject headings. And you know this is madness, and we're no longer relevant. But we're still here. And this is because we adapted to an overwhelming external force and have transformed our identity. We collectively redefined, and we're talking about in the last 6 to 8 years, what it means to be a librarian and what it means to be a library in a networked age. So given these developments, how can libraries transform to meet the changing needs of our users in this new learning environment? And what are the potential transformations we will see in our libraries? Libraries will no longer be the storage space for print materials, nor will libraries necessarily be a place reserved for quiet study and reading. Libraries will partner with other campus entities, centers for teaching and learning, academic technology, instructional designers, skills centers, data labs, and visualization studios. Spaces will be redesigned for on-demand resource delivery, interaction, and collaboration. Libraries will be social spaces for teaching and learning. We will continue to develop new service models for data curation and management, publishing of e-resources, and perhaps most significant for today's theme, we will prioritize building access to collections rather than building collections. Libraries will cultivate partnerships with publishers to develop new services for new user groups, such as data mining. We need to collaborate and integrate collections and services deeply into the fabric of research and teaching, and the opportunity for this has never been greater. We will need to privilege access to information rather than building ownership of information. The other things we learned was how to live with the discomfort of allowing weird records in the catalog, allowing users to select purchases, allowing titles into the catalog that a bibliographer had not assessed. We learned to adjust, not without pain, acquisitions and cataloging workflows to adapt to this new paradigm, but we did it. There still are some hurdles regarding eBooks, lack of standards, varying purchasing models, DRM issues, copyright, sharing, interlibrary lending, integration in course packs. Some platforms are better than others, and as I mentioned, some disciplines are less inclined to prefer or use monographic content in electronic form. We have a mission, and it's to provide ubiquitous access to information resources that are adaptable and reusable and based on user needs. eBooks are like any other e-resource and consequently are part of the solution to deliver information resources in a distributed learning environment.
Here's what you need to know about my university. It's public. We're one of 11 universities, soon to be 12, 9th largest university in the U.S. with number of students. We're probably close to 600,000 ebooks today. As of last year, 82% of our budget is electronic resources. What we are doing today, we do not have an approval plan. We are hybrid PDA, meaning we buy ebook packages, and everything else is going through PDA for us through EBL. For example, we have the Springer ebooks. We just purchased the Oxford Scholarship Online, the entire collection. Where we know that we would have bought most of these titles, that's where we're buying. For interlibrary loan, if someone is requesting a book, we do a purchase on demand. We are buying the book first electronically and then in print if it's not available electronically. We have a program called eBooks in the Classroom, which is if a faculty member wants to use an ebook for a course, we will buy it, and if there is only a single-use copy, we'll buy how many copies we need. 5 years out. For many, many years, we would go to the university administration and we need money because we're the library. I don't think that works anymore. They want to know that we are part of the solution, and where we're getting involved right now is a project that I'm involved in is e-textbooks. We are working with Course Load, and we're doing a pilot project for the fall to provide e-textbooks for our students. We're still going to be doing purchase on demand, I believe, PDA. The question about what is the catalog, some libraries are already using their discovery tool as their catalog. We're not there yet. We would love to move away from Easy Proxy. It's a pain, but not enough vendors are on Shibboleth for us to move exclusively in that direction. Everyone is questioning the value of higher education. It's going to trickle down to us. What is the impact that we're making on our students? And it's going to be difficult for us to answer that question. When you buy that new database, how's that going to change the life of a student?
2007, we basically had 2 sets of ebooks. We had some from NetLibrary and we had early English books online. The pricing model was purchase-based, and we bought them in packages. And I'm really still, I think, our library and some of our students and graduate students are ebook averse because of their experience with early NetLibrary book. You know, they were single simultaneous user, and they'd come to the reference desk and we'd show them the book, and then it would take 15 minutes for them to be able to access that book on a computer in the search center because the system hadn't figured out that we were done with it yet. And then printing was a page at a time. So when we would offer an ebook to a graduate student, they'd say, well, I don't want an ebook, I want a real book. I mean, we really did have a lot of early issues with the NetLibrary collection. More and more, the more I've been thinking about ebooks and acquiring ebooks and buying ebooks, I really evaluate whether it makes sense to buy books in a particular way based on the cost relative to the list price and whether I have other options of getting that sort of content. I want to avoid having to buy any ebooks until I know that someone in my library wants those ebooks, because technology should allow us to do that. We don't need to guess anymore. We've been guessing as to which books to buy for a really long time. Whenever we can move in a demand-driven way, we want to do that. Now, I think you always have to balance that statement with, we want a collection of the scholarly record, shared print collections, shared print repositories that make sure that we also have coverage of the full scholarly record is also important. Who we depend on doing that and how much any individual library contributes to that is a big open question. You see that pre-selected books, those are books that libraries picked ahead of time without necessarily knowing whether their users would want them, versus user-selected books. Those books, so they were acquired in that way, and then once the books went out there, we looked at the subsequent use of books that were demand-driven or user-selected versus pre-selected, and you see double the amount of use of books that were purchased by a demand. Whatever emotional connection we may have to doing it the way we have done it in the past, you do get more use for sure out of demand-driven books. 2017, of course, I don't have data for this, and it's just ideas, but this is where I'm hoping we end up. So I think the majority of our book purchasing should be demand-driven. And by that point, the vast majority of academic content should be available as ebooks. Users should have instant access to most ebook content. It's going to be much more access-based. We shouldn't have to buy and decide which and what as much as possible, and as much as we can convince our administrators to fund it and use wise ways to get access to these things. Libraries should purchase and print on-demand print books. We should be able to either buy rapid delivery from an Amazon or by printing the book in the library, we should be able to create the print immediately on demand. If libraries are willing to invest in shared print repositories, we can have an approval plan where we basically get every book that's published and profiled by Yankee into a shared print repository shared by 100 libraries. That's affordable. Those books are there. You can deliver them if you're regionally close together. And then the other print is just from borrowing it there or from printing it on demand. The last thing is I'm hoping that catalogs and aggregators and all of these silos of ebooks that we have everywhere will be replaced by a universal ebook discovery tool.
There's a lot of things we need to worry about, and I wanted to focus on the issue of interlibrary loan and resource sharing and the ebook problem. If everything were digital, everything's locked down by contract, you can't lend anymore. Prospector in Colorado is like Link Plus is in California. It's an in-reach union catalog. We have 40 libraries in it. We have about 11 million unique titles with about 30 million copies. About 3.5 million items in that union catalog are now for e-resources. In a traditional, if you receive an OCLC-ILL subsystem ebook request or book request, typically those are going for print versions of books, and people who have e-versions just pass them on or they don't even get them in the first place. Looking at the Springer contract, there were some very nice things in there and some interesting things. How we interpret it in Colorado and how we make it real is through our Prospector Union catalog. What we actually do is libraries get the MARC records for the Springer titles. They load them into their local OPAC. Any in-reach system works, they automatically bubble up to the union catalog. And then we selected a couple of libraries who are willing to be what we call fulfillment libraries. So obviously all of these libraries that are in the contract have direct online access, real-time access into the ebooks. But what if somebody wanted to borrow an ebook, and how do we get it to them? So what actually happens is the fulfillment library actually gets that request the next morning, and they, instead of going to the shelves and pulling the book, they go, oh, that's a Springer ebook. So they log into the Springer site, they grab the ebook, and then they send it on to that library. The Springer ebooks right now are sent without DRM. The patron can keep it, and the books must be downloaded sort of on a chapter by chapter level. Springer was really good for us, and there's a very interesting outcome. We started in 2008, 2009 with 8 subscribing libraries. Remember, this is the depth of the recession. 2010 we went to 10, 2011 we went to 12. It's counterintuitive, because what's going on is as people see that eContent, it's like advertising in our union catalog. And so we've actually had a growing base of libraries in our region subscribing to the Springer package. What are some of the things, my hopes and concerns for the future? One is, of course, PDF is great. There's got some good and bad points, but certainly having more of an EPUB-oriented format I think would be very good. That's more friendly towards readers. One of the things that happens in our contract is you think about something like Prospector. It's a limited domain. In other words, there's not too much exposure here. We're not doing it to the whole world. We're only actually doing it for a small cluster of Colorado libraries. So I could see one area where you might say in your contract, work with your ebook vendor, whether Springer or anyone else, to say, look, we want to lend these within a limited universe. And that's safer for the vendor and the publisher and easier for you.
It's an ownership and perpetual access model. So you make a purchase of the ebook, you own it forever, it's yours. All of the content is on Springer Link with the journals. It's all on the same platform. All of the content types are included. We don't leave anything out. We're not holding on to the textbooks or the reference works or anything like that. If you buy the ebook package, everything within that subject collection comes with it. It's yours, you own it forever. No ongoing administrative or platform fees. There's no hosting fee, there's no annual upkeep, there's no maintenance. And of course we provide usage statistics for you as well. You can pull them directly from the Springer site, but we can get a little bit more fancy on the back end if you're interested in that. We take discovery really seriously. as you know, if your users can't find them, you're losing a lot of the advantages of having the ebook. So we are fully indexed by Google. We let the Google bot crawl our site and index it. And they are compatible with all of the discovery services, all of the big commercial ones. If there are any smaller ones that you use, let us know. We should be using it as well.
One quick thing about MARC records that I just learned is that we're doing a huge update of our Springer MARC records, and that will also translate into OCLC. So in June of this year, one of the big things is we'll be including a table of contents in the MARC record, which makes chapter level searching in the OPAC feasible, functional, and exciting. Talking about three of the major things that really set Springer apart as a publisher and our platform and all that stuff. As we talked about ad nauseum, we are completely DRM free. You can print it, you can save it, you can whatever you want to, and currently that's in a PDF form. As part of our model, we offer unlimited concurrent users and remote access. And our content is readable on all platforms, so we allow porting to e-readers and all that good stuff. This kind of talks about those three ideas. Your faculty, your students can print as many pages as they'd like of any of the content. Totally fine. They can save these chapters as PDFs and soon to be EPUBs. It is coming down the road. They can download it. They can do whatever they'd like. And one of the really cool features that for faculty, especially in institutions where it's more teaching focused and less research focused, faculty can really integrate the chapters, the PDF, into the curriculum by posting a link onto Blackboard or one of those servers and allowing the students to download it either as part of a homework assignment or even looking at it in class. You could have an entire classroom looking at the exact same chapter at the same time, whether that's remotely as a distance learning or actually in the room. Interlibrary alone is totally okay with us, and this stuff is really transferable, really usable. Just to talk about that teaching institution versus research institution, we just did a really cool usage study. We looked at schools, mostly community colleges, some baccalaureate institutions, some master's institutions, and we're finding that the content is being used in a really surprising way. Community colleges on average are using about 310 titles, valuing at about $45,000. When you think about that math, that doesn't really make sense. Our average title is about $140. But we looked at the actual titles they're using. It's the major reference works. It's the book series. It's these huge, dense books that a community college library ordinarily would not be able to afford, but because they're getting it in a package, it's part of the inclusion, they're able to dive into it. We do have a print-on-demand service called MyCopy. With a few exceptions, any book that is 1,200 pages or less and is less than 80% images is able to be printed on demand. That is, as long as your library has perpetual access to it. Your end user goes on the website, clicks on the button that says Buy a MyCopy for $24.95, which includes shipping and handling. Your end user receives a MyCopy print-on-demand version of this book to their home address in 3 to 5 days. So this is our step towards bridging the gap between print and electronic. The front page of that book says you were able to get this MyCopy because your library has perpetual access to the collection. It keeps the library in the loop, and it's not this magical transaction between the student and Springer. We do sell in the collection approach. We have 12 discrete subject collections, and we sell based on copyright year. So our current copyright year, 2012, has 4,725 titles across those 12 collections. We also do sell our back file, which is our older content from 2005 to 2011. And here are the 12 subject collections and the number of projected titles that we're looking at this year. So they do range from everything from behavioral science to medicine, professional and applied computing, computer science. We are STEM focused, but you notice we have a humanities, social science, and law collection, which is, I believe, one of the fastest growing collections. So we are putting an emphasis on, widening our scope slightly while still maintaining the quality content, like lecture notes in computer science, like our medicine or biomed titles. Our back file is about a little over 25,000. So we have about 30,000 books that we're working with, and then some book series that dive back further.
100% unique Springer titles, and all of the imprints that we publish as well underneath. No DRM, very important to us, and I believe to you. Unlimited concurrent users is also very important. I think you don't want people running into roadblocks. They get a little bit more frustrated, tend to not want to use the eBooks. We make them highly discoverable. The content is journalized on the chapter level, ebook chapters, like journal articles. The print-on-demand option, save your students a lot of money on that, and relevant content. It's a purchase, you buy the book, it's like a print book, it stays with you, except it doesn't fall apart or walk away.